So, the golden age of 16-bit gaming returns. What? So, I've already done a couple videos, but I want to take a closer look and dive in and talk about these games that are going to be on the Super Nintendo Classic Edition. Being released September 29th, 2017. Get in line now. Watch this video on your phone. Have somebody bring you sandwiches. Boom. Let's get this party started. So yeah, seriously though, I don't know if you want to wait in line for 3 months, but you already know this is going to be intense. I'm extremely excited. I know a lot of you guys are too. We have a lot of options already out there and available to play these games, be it emulation, the original cartridges, the virtual console on the Wii, the Wii U. A lot of these games are already out there in one way or another. But I think being a fan of Nintendo, it is awesome as heck to be able to have a system with these awesome games on it with the original style controls. Awesome stuff in my opinion. So let's go ahead and take a look at these games, talk about them real quick, really, talk about the games. So we're getting 21 classic Super NES games. Super Mario World, launch title with a Super NES. It took Super Mario to the next level. It is still my all-time favorite Super Mario Brothers game. All-time favorite. I don't care what anybody says. Yes, the first one on the NES is awesome. I grew up with that, played the crap out of it, but Super Mario World, just with taking the best from all the previous Marios, so intense, just awesome. The introduction of Yoshi, having the cape to fly around, all that cool stuff. Just great game. I remember I couldn't afford to get a Super Nintendo when it was first released. I got one, within a year or so after it came out. But a buddy of mine, way back in the day, my best friend at the time, him, his older brothers, they went and got a Super Nintendo with Super Mario World. I just remember staying over at this dude's house like every damn day because they were big video game fans, man, huge, just like myself, but they were just, cutting edge, whatever was new, they were grabbing it. I stayed over multiple days, we were just playing the crap out of the Super Nintendo, just intense. Super Mario World, I remember the first day we played all the way through that game, all the way through it, just awesome. Next one on our list, Super Mario Kart. Super Mario Kart, the first Mario Kart that just created that craze of kart racing and battle mode. What can you say about Super Mario Kart? I remember back in the day we would have sleepovers at a buddy of mine way back in the day at his house, like for birthdays, stuff like that, and be a ton of us. We'd be doing little tournaments, doing a little cat and mouse mini game that people kind of came up with, and it was so much fun playing Super Mario Kart battle mode, doing the little modes that we created on our own and all that kind of stuff. Just so much fun. Super Mario Kart paved the way for kart racers. Nobody's been able to imitate it, in my opinion, other than, obviously, Super Mario Kart sequels. But this is where it began. So many great memories. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. One can argue the original Legend of Zelda was the all-time greatest. Ocarina of Time was. They're all great, in my opinion. There might be some, the DS ones I didn't care for that much, to be honest with you. But the Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, just, you had the Dark World, whatever it was called, and just, it brought Zelda to a whole new level, obviously. The Super Nintendo brought a lot of these game franchises to a whole new level. Intense. Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, my favorite all-time Legend of Zelda game. My next all-time favorite Legend of Zelda game might surprise you, but it was Link's Awakening for the Game Boy. But, that's telling you something, I guess. But Link to the Past, just so many memories. Awesome game. Just great. What can you say? FZero, I remember getting that as well. having a blast with it. Never was the hugest FZero fan, but I really did enjoy it. I enjoyed those old school racers, and FZero was a whole new animal when it came to that, and it was fun. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for FZero like some people do, but I had it, and I loved it. It was a good, simple racing game. Pretty awesome stuff. The next one on the list, though, Super Metroid. Man, I remember as a kid wanting to punch a hole in the wall playing the original Metroid because I didn't know what the heck the game was about. I didn't know what the heck we were doing. You know, we had those old school TV shows with little, I can't even remember the names of them, but they were like tips and tricks, you know. You could get magazines and stuff, but there was a couple shows that were out there that would show you stuff. And just, that's when I really kind of started figuring out Metroid. But by the time Super Metroid came out, I'd already played Metroid 2, Return of Samus, loved it. Revisited the original Metroid, loved it. Super Metroid, just gorgeous visuals, huge world, tons of exploration, weapon upgrades, ability upgrades, awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Next one on our list, Star Fox 2. From what I understand, Star Fox 2 is not unlocked immediately. That's what I've read. You know, I don't know if that's 100% true, but I'm pretty sure in an interview or something somewhere that I read that they said Star Fox 2, you're going to have to earn it to play it. But by earn it, they mean just play Star Fox 1 and beat the first level. So that's not very difficult to do. Play Star Fox 1, beat the first level, unlock Star Fox 2. I could deal with that. Never even, Star Fox 2, we've had, like an early version ROM that's been out there for a while that was ripped. It didn't go through all the quality assurance and all that kind of stuff that Nintendo would put, with a full-on release. So this Star Fox 2, I don't think very many people really know what we're in store for as far as the full game and the quality that was put behind it. So I'm excited. To be honest, when this system comes out, Star Fox 2, besides having to play the first level of Star Fox 1, is going to be the first game that I just play. I don't care what anybody says. I'm a huge Star Fox fan. Loved all of them. The first one was just awesome. So we'll go ahead and kind of talk about that as well. Just with the branching paths and different ways you can go about doing things. Using that FX chip to simulate the 3D and all the early polygons. It obviously doesn't hold up as far as graphics go compared to a lot of these other games on the list, with the sprites and the art style. A lot of these games hold up. Star Fox doesn't hold up compared to 3D games nowadays, obviously. The 2D games hold up to 2D games of today. It's just a style and way that people keep revisiting anyway. But Star Fox with the dated visuals, I can still enjoy it. I still play the first Star Fox. Really love it. Star Fox on the Nintendo 64 was awesome. I think, like Star Fox Command and stuff like that were like misses in my opinion. But Star Fox 1 and Star Fox on Nintendo 64, some of my all-time favorite Nintendo games. So I'm really excited to revisit Star Fox 1 and unlock and play Star Fox 2. Like I said, that's going to be the first game that I put in time and just play the crap out of it. Star Fox 2. Cannot wait. So the next one on our list is going to be Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting. What can you say about Street Fighter 2? We just had the Street Fighter 2 Ultra release on the Nintendo Switch, so I've got my fix on Street Fighter 2 right now. But I do think it's a pretty awesome bonus to throw that on there. I remember playing Street Fighter 2 in the arcade, and we were just blown away. Like, that was the start of arcade fighting games, Street Fighter 2. Doesn't matter anything else that came out before it or around it. Street Fighter 2 was really what set that off. So when Street Fighter 2 was released on the Super Nintendo, game changer right there. I said it, and I've said it plenty of times, but it was more amazing, I want to say, with like the Atari and original NES, when a game you played in the arcade was ported to that system, you're like, whoa, like blown away. Like, I could play an arcade game. I can go rent this from the store or buy it for $50, $60, whatever the price was, and play it instead of dumping all my change and begging for money or collecting cans. I don't know what all you guys did to get quarters to go to the arcade, but I didn't come from a rich family, so we had to scrounge up whatever we could, save our lunch money, collect cans, whatever. We wanted to go to the arcade or go to the movies or something, but I spent so much money on these games, and back in that time, the NES and Atari and whatnot, you were shocked and amazed. Cool, I can have this arcade game at home, but they never compared to the actual arcade game. They never looked as good. They never played as good for the most part. But when the Super Nintendo came along and you were getting arcade releases that were damn near perfect to the arcade version, what? That was just sick and awesome to me anyway. Next one on our list, Super Punch-Out. Everybody grew up playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, or the revised version of Mr. Dream when Mike Tyson got in all that trouble. Super Punch-Out took it to a whole new level. Pretty familiar. The graphics were upped. The mechanics of the puzzle element to it, because essentially when you really look at Punch-Out and Super Punch-Out, it's a puzzle game. It's a memorization game in a sense. So you had that puzzle element and memorization element. How do I defeat this foe? What are his moves and all that? It wasn't really a fighting game. It wasn't really a boxing game in a sense, which really made it awesome. So Super Punch-Out took it to a whole new level. Better graphics, more complicated enemies. Really awesome. I owned it, loved it. Pretty much every game on the list I owned at one point or another, except for one, and we'll get to that one. Next one, though, Castlevania IV. Now, a lot of people will probably argue with me on this, but as far as classic Castlevania goes, you have, the original 3 on the NES, Bloodlines, Dracula X, all that, Rondo of Blood, all the 2D old school Castlevania type games. I'm not talking about the DS and, all those. I'm talking about the old school, fairly straightforward Castlevania games. Castlevania 4 was my favorite. I've played them all and I've loved them all, but Castlevania 4 just, with those Mode 7 elements to it and just the crazy enemies you were fighting. There was some slowdown. I remember, there's one level where you're kind of like in this underground sludge area, and the little sludge monsters, you would whip them or attack them, and they'd keep shrinking down. I remember you would get slowed down in those kind of areas, but it was still awesome. I loved Castlevania 4, my favorite old school Castlevania game. Next on the list, Donkey Kong Country. What can you say about Donkey Kong Country? It kind of, the Donkey Kong Countries used that different graphic style that rendered, almost 3D look to the characters. And I thought it was really awesome. I wasn't the hugest fan of Donkey Kong Country. I played all 3 of them. I enjoyed the first one more than the rest of them, but I don't have a deep nostalgia for it. I did like the games, and I did buy them, but it's just, Donkey Kong Country, it's still up there for me as far as memories go, but it's not one of my top on this list. Definitely love the game. Excited to see it on there. Definitely going to revisit it. Just, what can I say? I'm not a huge fan, but I still love and appreciate those games. Next one on our list, Mega Man X. Mega Man X changed the formula to the original Mega Man games in a way. We had different abilities, different mechanics in a sense. It took it to a whole new level as far as graphics go. I'm a huge Mega Man fan. I still prefer me some old school Mega Man, the first 6, over the Mega Man X games. I've played them all. Mega Man, got a soft spot in my heart for Mega Man. Love the dude, love the bro. Mega Man X, like it, but I prefer the originals. But I still can't wait to revisit it. Kirby Superstar. So Kirby Superstar, for me, is one of the more disappointing games on this list. If I remember correctly, because I'm going off of memory right here. I'm not reading a script. I didn't research any of these games. I'm going off of what I remember playing these. So if I mention something incorrectly, go ahead and correct me in the comments. I'd appreciate it. It's cool. I'm not going to take it to heart. I'm working off of what's up here, not what's, on notes or research. I didn't do any of that. But Kirby Superstar, from what I recall, was pretty much a collection of mini games. I don't like collections of mini games for the most part. Kirby, I have a soft spot for Kirby. I had a cat way back in the day that used to like suck on your toes and bite your feet, and I named him Kirby. You know, that's how much I love Kirby. My ringtone on my phone for my wife is the Kirby theme song. I don't know why, just, you know, love it. But Kirby Superstar, don't really care for it. It's one of the weakest ones on this list for me anyway. And since we're talking about Kirby, there is another Kirby game on here, Kirby's Dream Course. For me, another one of the weaker ones. I did have this game. I don't remember if I owned it or if I rented it. Most of these games I owned, I'm pretty sure. Kirby's Dream Course, yeah, I probably owned it. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not right when it came out, but it was, you know, Marble Madness, golf type crossover thing. Didn't really care for it. After playing all these games, when this system releases, that'll probably be the last one I mess with. I'll probably play Kirby Superstar over Kirby's Dream Course. But hey, there's probably going to be some people out there who really loved it. I love Kirby, but I don't love every Kirby game that's came out. And these are two that I didn't really, you know, whatever, didn't care for. So next one on the list, Yoshi's Island, Super Mario World 2. Now that's the one I did not own on the Super Nintendo. Did not care for it. I'd seen the reviews and magazines. I knew people who owned it and played it, and I watched people play it. Drove me nuts with the wah, 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 the little baby characters. I didn't like the mechanics behind the game. I never bought it on the Super Nintendo. Now, when it was released, like on the Game Boy Advance, I did get it. I did play, you know, go ahead and play it. It was a good game, just for me, one of the weaker entries in the standard Mario games. So next on our list, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Holy crap. When that game came out, you know, it was, you know, Squaresoft, you know, Square Enix or Square now, but, you know, Squaresoft had worked on this game with Nintendo, and that just, to me, was amazing to have a Mario RPG game. There's been a few that have been out there, Mario and Luigi and all that for the DS, 3DS, all that wonderful stuff, Paper Mario. A lot of people love those games, and I've played most of them, but none of them, in my opinion, can touch Super Mario RPG. The graphic style, the humor behind it, the combat, the characters, just so much fun. The casino, going and screwing around, just amazing game. What could you say? Cannot wait to jump back into that. Gonna be awesome. Next one on the list, Contra 3. Never really was huge in the Contra 3. I had it, but I don't think it was a game that I really played much. I did love the original Contra. Contra 3, I just, you know, I can vaguely remember playing it, and I know I had it, but that'll be definitely a game that I jump onto early on with this system that I'm going to try out. But, you know, what can you complain about? It's Contra. It doesn't divert from, you know, the series in a crazy way, so it's classic Contra. Can't wait to try her out. So next one that I want to talk about, before we get into for me, the big three, essentially. So we got Super Ghouls and Ghosts. So Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Ghosts and Goblins, all those games, amazing, crazy difficulty in a sense, awesome art style, you know, theme behind it, music, score, sick. You know, I don't think I had this game, but I don't think I ever played it through and beat it. The original on the Nintendo I did, but the one on the Super Nintendo, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, never beat it. So I can't wait to jump into that and play through it and, you know, get some better impressions on it, because it's been a long time. I don't really remember that game. You know, in my brain, I can see it and I remember it, but I don't remember playing through and beating it. Maybe I just was too weak-willed to put the time and effort into playing it. I don't know, but I couldn't beat it. Can't wait to jump into it and try it out again. So the next three I want to talk about. Final Fantasy III. What can you say about Final Fantasy III? And I know I've showed this plenty of times. This thing's been through some hell. This is from the day Final Fantasy III was released. Strategy guide. This thing's gone through some moments. Not the most well-written strategy guide out there. I still have it to this day because the game just holds such a special place in my heart, I guess you could say. Final Fantasy III, when it was released, I played the crap out of that game. I'm a big boy. I likes to eat. when Final Fantasy III came out, this guy right here didn't eat. He played Final Fantasy III. To be straight honest with you, I don't think I showered. I don't think I ate. I don't think I took care of myself for nothing because Final Fantasy III. Dude, so many characters. The game was long. So many secrets. And the thing too, and I'm a Final Fantasy fan, but I've never seen a Final Fantasy since 3 have such well-written characters, in my opinion. Final Fantasy III, every single character that you obtained in that game that were a main character, in a sense, didn't matter who they were well-written. They all had a place in the story, for their reasoning behind what they're doing. There was some meaning to it. Every character in that game just had a purpose. They weren't just filler characters, and there was a ton of characters that you had in your party. Amazing game. Loved it. Still love it to this day. I've played every iteration of it, but hey, going back to the original release is the most nostalgic, just trip down memory lane. Having that 3 instead of 6 pop up, I can't wait. I love me some Final Fantasy 3. Cannot wait. Next one on the list, Secret of Mana. Secret of Mana for me, I owned it. I owned it multiple times, actually. But that was a game that I didn't get into right away, I think, because it was a little different for me. But once I got into it, discovered you could play 2 players, all that kind of crazy stuff, I was like hooked. It was awesome. I can't even remember the full story of the game, which makes it even more to where I can't wait to play it again. But it just, with the combat and the changes to the system from what we were originally accustomed to in role-playing game type games, it was just so awesome. Just, so different and unique, colorful, beautiful art style. Can't wait to revisit it. So the next one, EarthBound. EarthBound, what could you say? It essentially plays like Dragon Quest, but it don't look like Dragon Quest. It looks like Dragon Quest in the battles. It uses that old school Japanese style, but the game is just so quirky and different. The humor, the oddballness, the modern time RPG that nobody'd really seen. EarthBound was not a popular game. I'm telling you right now, those big ass boxes with the strategy guide in them, those things sat at Best Buys. They sat at Walmarts. Nobody was buying that game. So, at least from my experience, nobody I knew about that game. It's exploded because of that, I think. People revisiting it later on. People learning about quirky RPGs, years after it was released. And, it was a thing where there's probably wasn't as many produced because it wasn't a popular game. I don't care what you tell me. It was not a popular game. So my thoughts without digging into researching it is that they didn't produce very many of them. They're bigger, came with a guide. The game is probably a little bit more expensive than other games. EarthBound, what the heck is that? That's not Super Mario. That's not Zelda. That's not Final Fantasy. That's not Kirby. People passed it up. So it sat around, either got sent back, destroyed, clearanced out, whatever happened. So, there's copies out there. It's not a rare game necessarily. I'm sure it had a smaller print run than, say the Super Punch-Out or Castlevania or Donkey Kong Country or Star Fox. I'm sure there was a smaller print run for it, but not so drastic where there's only like 1,000 of them out there. There's tons of them out there. It just became that hidden gem that people talk about, for the past 10, 15 years, that it's an amazing RPG. I don't necessarily want to say it's an amazing RPG because it's fairly basic. It's just unique. The style, the humor, the storytelling, totally different game. Not the most advanced as far as combat mechanics. Kind of actually, takes a step back to games that were released even before it. But it's just that quirkiness, that uniqueness, still holds up to this day in my opinion. It's a little slow to start, but it is an awesome game. So what do you guys think? Is this list of 21 games the end-all, be-all for, the top, let's just say top 20, top 21 games? What do you think? What's missing? What would have you wished would have been on there? I'll tell you right now, in my opinion, you could have cut the Kirby games. That's just my opinion. Chrono Trigger, what? Sunset Riders, what? There was a lot of games. Throw them out there. What do you guys think should have been on there? What do you think should have been cut. You know, just our dream list. What would have you rather have seen on here versus the games that you don't care about? Some people aren't going to care about Final Fantasy III. I love Final Fantasy III, but those are the kind of games I like. So some people don't like those types of games. So, hey, if you'd cut Final Fantasy III for something else, throw it out there. You know, if you'd cut Castlevania for something else, throw it out there. I'm curious to read what you guys think should have been on here. What should have been those 21 games that were on this system? I know we could all wish, hey, there was 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 games. That would have been awesome. But we got to deal with what's given to us. And we're being given 21 games, and I think the value is really here. $80, 2 controllers, 21 games. Shut up. I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it. Throw your opinion out there. What would you like to have seen on here? So, I hope this video was, entertaining. Hope you guys appreciated it. Just wanted to chat it up for a moment. Throw my thoughts and views out there. Talk about these games. Smash that like button if you could. I'd really appreciate that. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Take a look at my previous videos. My other videos I've done on the Super Nintendo Mini. The Super Famicom Mini. Take a look at that stuff. Take a look at my Raspberry Pi videos. And take a look at my giveaway that we're working on. Awesome multi-prize giveaway. So more than one person's going to win. Take a look at that. So, appreciate it, guys. I'll catch you guys next time. Boom.